Ben sosyal anksiyete
First of all, thanks everyone. I'll be talking about technology-based new approaches to intervention for social phobia, including examples. Individuals with social phobia use the internet as an escape or safe place to avoid social interactions, while others may prefer to socialize and communicate in online environments while they feel more comfortable. Research indicates that individuals with social phobia spend more time on online platforms using the internet for purposes such as social support, information gathering, and self expression. This, in turn, negatively influences the real life social interactions. Despite the effectiveness of current psychological and pharmaceutical treatments in alleviating symptoms of SAD, only 35% of those with SAD seek treatment for the condition. Consequently, different interventions have been developed. Internet delivered cognitive behavioral therapy, I would like to mention about it. At the same time, there is virtual reality exposure therapy is implemented today, and cognitive bias modification is also used, and also social robot is used among the technological approaches. And also we have bibliotherapy, including online sessions. um, with the integration of computer technology into every aspect of daily life, healthcare clinicians have been exploring how to use it effectively to assist their patients. Using computers to provide psychotherapy was seen as a new method. Computer-based CBT programs used in clinical practice rely on clinician support to reduce patients about basic CBT concepts to deliver components of the therapeutic treatment. Internet delivered cognitive behavior therapy have web pages created for internet-based CBT. They contain self-help materials, applications that often include therapist support via email, video calls, and phone calls. These applications are designed to facilitate cognitive, behavioral, and emotional change in individuals. The content is comprehensively formulated and presented in a well-structured manner. They offer personalized, individualized clinical treatments similar to clinical face-to-face services. Also, internet-based PDT, like in the phase one, involves homeworks and feedbacks to the parents. These are more economical and easy to access and more advantageous than the face-to-face BDT. The long-term, in a study addressing the long-term effectiveness of ICBT applications, an ICBT program was implemented for social anxiety disorder. A specific culture was in Romania. 70 participants were randomly assigned to their 9-week therapist-supported ICBT program or a control group. The therapist-supported ICBT program was found to be effective. 34 of the treatment group improved, 36 retained some social anxiety symptoms. The impact of ICBT treatment persisted after 6 months, and And a meta-analysis of 64 studies found an average effect size demonstrating that internet-based CBT is beneficial for the community mental health, and a meta-analysis compared computer-assisted psychotherapy with face-to-face psychotherapy without computer support for anxiety disorders. No significant difference was observed between computer-assisted psychotherapy and face-to-face psychotherapy, and computer-assisted psychotherapy was found to be effective in reducing the anxiety level. The use of virtual reality in mental health is based on changing human perceptions with artificial objects and places as if they existed through computerized models. Unlike in vivo exposure and imaginal exposure, in virtual reality exposure, the client is exposed to the environment created in computer. And this enables to expose the client in a wholly controllable environment. The complexity level of the created environment, the quantity of the stimuli, and the degree of difficulty can all be controlled by the professional. The virtual reality was used for the first time to treat the post-traumatic stress disorders of the war veterans, and it can be used in ADHD treatment also. It allows for the observation and anxiety assessment of the client's anxiety inducing and avoidance related behaviors in the context of the psychological counseling room. The ability to present the desired situation at the desired frequency. For example, simulating a plane taking off 10 times in a row for someone with a fear of flying, extending the duration to 5 minutes weather conditions, or the darkness phobias of the patients can also be treated through virtual reality exposure. Scenarios possible that wouldn't occur in real life, like an elevator moving without stopping at any floors. A way to repeatedly practice therapeutic goals like coping with an anxiety inducing situation or relaxation under specific conditions, allowing for a personalized plan tailored to the individual. The fact that therapy is conducted in a private room ensures that the client is not seen by others, and preventing the client from being ashamed of others. The virtual reality exposure therapy studies on the usage of it on the treatment of social phobia are being conducted both for adults and children, and studies conducted with adults include combination therapies with BDT and behavioral therapy and virtual exposure therapy. Participants exposed to four virtual reality environments. The people in the four were exposed to four virtual reality environments. These virtual environments involve a dinner party conversation, public speaking, and speech challenging other person's perspective and performing a task while being watched by someone else. And it turned out that virtual reality exposure was more effective than the group therapy In another study, it was found that using virtual reality exposure in conjunction with an 8-session CBT program was an effective method for treating public speaking anxiety. During the first 4 sessions, participants were taught social phobia coping techniques. In the another study, where a modified version of the game Second Life, which allows for living in a virtual world and interacting with other players, was used, and participants were exposed to communication based scenarios within the game. The social phobia symptoms were observed to reduce in these uh, clients. And in the studies conducted with children, the effectiveness in vivo exposure varied methods in improving the social skills of the student aged 7 to 14 with social phobia was compared. And in the virtual reality application, different school settings were created. Students were exposed to social situations aimed at improving skills such as greeting, initiating, and maintaining conversations, problem solving. Both methods were found to support the development of children's social skills. Experts indicated that virtual reality application was more practical and easier to implement, supporting social interaction skills of the children. So this um, virtual reality exposure was demonstrated to be more effective and feasible. And also in the smartphone virtual reality application developed for individuals in 8 separate sessions. There are the school workplace scenarios with different levels of difficulties. Uh, and all as users succeed in these scenarios, they progress to the next level. Success in each stage is automatically calculated by the application. From the perspective information processes, back emergy and France indicated in 1985 that attentional interpretational memory biases play a central role in social anxiety disorders. And the attentional bias observed in social anxiety appears to be more focused on socially relevant threat stimuli rather than generalized to all threat related stimuli. And additionally, individuals with social anxiety often tend to interpret social situations in a negative manner and or view mildly negative social events as catastrophic. And there are various intervention programs aimed at reducing cognitive biases. These are collectively referred to as cognitive bias information. These include attentional bias, interpretational bias, and approach avoidance bias. Cognitive biases associated with SAD are targeted by means of computer tasks and cognitive bias modification to assess attentional biases. Dot probe task used and participants sit in front of a computer screen. Threat-related stimulus and a neutral stimulus is shown to the participants for a short time, as the stimuli often consists of sets of words that pen, for example, and photographs with facial expressions. And after the stimuli are shown on the screen, a plus sign emerges. The participant is then asked to respond to the cue via a keyboard. With each response, the next trial is initiated. The participant is asked to respond to the cue by pushing a key. For individuals with attentional biases towards threat-related stimuli, it is expected that they will respond more quickly when the cue appears in the region where the threat-related stimulus was, since their attention is drawn to that area. Conversely, when the cue appears in the region opposite to the threat-related stimulus, these individuals might respond differently. So, in the standard task used for attentional bias modification, the proportion of cues appearing in a site-specific region is manipulated to favor the neutral stimulus, typically 80 to 90%. This aims to divert the participants' attention away from the threat-related area. And when examining the effectiveness of attentional bias notification, some single session dot probe studies have shown efficacy in reducing. Some turned out to have no efficacy. Well, in a study with multiple intervention sessions, a significant change in those with social anxiety symptoms was observed only in terms of reduced anxiety related to general social interaction, with no reduction in anxiety related to being observed or evaluated. To modify interpretational bias, showing participants a word with either social threat content, shame, or neutral positive content, funny, followed by an ambiguous sentence. People laughed at something you said. For example, when you say the word shame, then an ambiguous word is said. If it is related, it is said that the person have given negative feedback, and participants are asked to determine whether the word and the sentence are related or not. So, research findings on the effectiveness of interpretational bias modification in individuals with social anxiety symptoms appear to show greater consistency. Participants demonstrate a decrease in negative interpretations in the ambiguous scenarios. And in CBM studies, several consecutive daily sessions or several weekly sessions, typically one or two per week, have been used. Most studies focus on addressing only one type of bias. They are limited studies that investigate the impact of interventions targeting both attentional and interpretational data. And there is an updated meta-analysis conducted in 2016. The virtual reality exposure treatment was found to be effective in reducing social anxieties, and ICBT was effective when compared to passive large effect size and active small effect size control conditions. A large effect was found for VRED when compared to passive control conditions. The effect size was not significant, suggesting comparable effects for VRED and active control conditions. While there is a substantial body of research on ICBT, evidence for it is rather preliminary due to small number of studies. And CBM was not effective relative to passive control conditions, and the studies are only in early stages. However, when CBM delivered in the laboratory was separately examined, it had a small effect on SAD symptoms. So let us talk about social reports. Social robots communicate and coordinate their behavior with humans through verbal, nonverbal, or affective modalities. The research findings suggest that interactions with social robots could alleviate anxiety and tension in both persons with and without social anxiety, demonstrating the efficacy and the physical appearance of social robots, human-like and not human-like. Those humanoids generally have large, simple face expressions. The non-humans are like animals, caricaturized faces. And the activities within the conventional treatment for social anxiety and current applications of social robots for interventions in other domains in autism spectrum disorder. Social robots can be used in different places. The individuals having social anxiety may have concerning first sessions. Conducting the first session with a robot relieve the stress. Um, Social robots can catch the lack of eye contact and behavioral problems, and they can be used as behavioral detection tool and diagnosis tool. And it can be used in therapy steps such as facing, encountering, and exposure. And human-like robots are used to minimize the anxiety levels in the human beings. In the autism treatment, social robots can be used as a tool of game and as a friend. And to facilitate social interaction, they can intermediate. For example, a very anxious robot, anxious child can benefit from robots, and they can assume the role of coach or educator in clinical application. What are the risks and concerns for sensitive applications practices for diagnosis? They are deprived of diagnosis, and because their real-time diagnosis capabilities are less, the social robots cannot be used as effectively as the human beings, because social robots have doesn't have enough social interaction and emotional understanding, psychological privacy due to disclosure of sensitive or intimate information. This is also a concern. And for these reasons, the social robots cannot be used commonly without the approval of the um, ethical protocols. And the group which took bibliography and the bibliotherapy group having access to the uh, online tools were compared, and the main treatment component was self-help in manual for social anxiety disorder, divided into 9 chapters adapted for use over the internet, and one module for every week, so 9 weeks treatment program. The highest impact size was found in the internet driven BDT, and the impact size of the bibliotherapy group assisted with BDT was found to be more than the group which received only BDT. And the studies suggest that ICBT is an effective treatment. Initial data indicate that virtual reality exposure treatment may have similar effects to active treatments. The effectiveness of CBM has been reported to be limited. Thank you.